Hey guys, welcome back. It is me, Moose, back for day 9. Bigger and badder than ever. My shoulder, tricep, whatever the fuck it was that was wrong with me yesterday, it's feeling a lot more better. After I doubled up my protein, I doubled the chicken and fish that I ate pretty much, and I got a good night's sleep. It's feeling a little bit better. It's not 100%, but it's getting there. Speaking of rest, fuck man, since quitting weed, right? Like sleep, it's just always something that I realize whenever I quit weed and shit. It's like sleep is always harder. It's always harder to get to sleep. But when you actually do get to sleep, it's a lot more restful. And that's kind of like what I'm dealing with these days, right? So I had to pop a bunch of melatonins and shit, but we all know that other little task you can do to help you catch a good night's sleep, if you get what I'm saying. Wink wink, right? But yeah, it's nutting, bro. If you nut you're gonna probably be able to pass that. It's not a guarantee, but this is something that we all kind of know, right? So I know that's kind of like against the theme of the month, right? No Nut November. Welcome, by the way, congratulations, we made it to No Nut November. But yeah, I know it's kind of against the theme, but that's gonna probably be what I'm gonna be talking about today. Today, I'm gonna be talking about the benefits of not nutting, right? So here are a couple of benefits that I noticed from whenever, I went on a long extended period of not fapping. So benefit number 1, right? The first thing you'll notice is the increase in free time. You're gonna have a lot more free time to do whatever you want. It may take a while to get over the flood of like sexual thoughts that are just coming through your head, but trust me, daddy, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, okay? Once you're over that bump in the road, you can clearly see how much time is used up, just to work the shaft. You can see how much energy and focus and all that shit you're putting into it. Finding a video and trying to find the perfect scene, and then on top of that, you're doing that like 20 times over because you have like so many tabs open and shit, right? It's more than half the job, and it's like it takes up like 80 to 90% of the time besides the actual nut, right? On top of that, there's so many ways you just get sidetracked in the middle of that shit, right? You'll be watching some shit, you'll be opening up another tab and another tab and another tab. Next thing you know, bro, it's like, fuck, you gotta go to school, right? That shit happens, bro. That shit happens, man, right? So all that research, okay, all that research for such a brief experience of pleasure, that only stays with you. It stays with you less. It stays with you shorter than a round of applause for like a school project. And you're putting in all that research, for just that, like, yeah, man, it's just a waste of time, right? You're gonna be able to get a lot more energy as well after you quit, right? So every time you fap, you're overloading your brain with dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that's responsible for feeling pleasure, satisfaction, and motivation, right? So when you're overloading your brain with that neurotransmitter, right, you're gonna be putting your baseline high. You're putting your baseline a lot more higher than it needs to be, right? You get dopamine from doing simple things. You get dopamine from cleaning. You get dopamine from working out. You get dopamine from talking to people. You get dopamine from when you're about to complete a task, right? So when you bring that baseline high, you're doing your brain you're like nerfing your brain pretty much, You're doing something that your brain won't see any benefit like to do other things if all you do is just fap. If all you do is fap, your brain is gonna be like, what's the point of even working out? What's the point of eating healthy? What's the point of doing anything? And you're just stuck in your room beating your shit, till you're swimming with the seaman, right? Now, quitting the nut's gonna bring balance to your hormones and shit, right? So you're not always trying to regenerate the nut, right? You're not always trying to like on top of that too, I'll also mention you do get better sleep. You do get better sleep when you do quit nutting. I remember I've had days where I was breaking records and shit, but those nights you can't go, even though they say it helps you go to sleep, too much of it will not, bro. Like your sleep won't be as restful, I don't know what it was. I did research on it at the time, it was like years ago, but it's like a potassium deficiency or something like that. So I was like eating bananas just to make sure that I'd have enough to nut. That's what I was on. But if you quit, you're gonna be able to bring balance to all your hormones, neurotransmitters, whatever the fuck's going on up in your head. You're gonna be forced right, to find that pleasure, that satisfaction, and that motivation somewhere else, right? That time and focus, that you gave all your energy, right? It's gonna have to find a new place, right? Something a lot more rewarding. You're gonna find more rewarding things to do with your time. So those are the benefits to not fapping. So you'll get better sleep, because if you nut too much, it's not good, right? Even though if you nut once, it's all right. For me personally, if you nut like 8, 9 times the shit, you can't go to sleep, bro. It's like, or the sleep is like very shallow. It's a very shallow sleep, right? You get a lot more time. You're gonna have a lot more time. You're gonna have more energy, right? You're gonna be able to readjust your dopamine levels and be able to pick up new hobbies, things like that. You'll be able to use your time more effectively, pretty much, right? It may seem hard at first, but I got a couple tips here to help you guys out. Okay, so I have 3 tips to help you. So these are all anecdotal. Don't take these as gospel and truth or whatever. But these are all things that I personally experienced, that I I wrote down. I'm just like, okay, let me just tell you guys about it, right? So if it helps you, it helps you. If it just in case, like, if it worked for me, it might work for you, right? If it worked for me, it might work for you. So number 1, set a goal and a reward. Give yourself an end so it's easier to begin, right? Just remember that. Give yourself some type of end so it's easier to just even begin. Give yourself a timeline or a target, something that is accomplishable, right? Something that comes with its own parallel benefits that you can reap as well, besides the reward you're going to set for yourself. But just first create that timeline and that target, and then you can start focusing on, okay, now what do you want to reward yourself with, right? You can reward yourself with a nut. I wouldn't recommend that. If you're gonna do No Nut November, maybe you could do that at the end of the month. Hey, if I do it for the whole month, I can nut at the end of the month. That could be your like little reward at the end of the month. That's just an example. I wouldn't personally recommend that. It's kind of counterproductive. But these bonuses, like the bonuses you're gonna get along with whatever you're doing, right? So once you set that target, right? Once you set that timeline, right? Once you're like, okay, your target can be something like, hey, I'm not gonna bust a nut until I can bench a plate, something like that. Or I'm not gonna bust a nut until I run a marathon on this day. Or I'm not gonna bust a nut unless I do such and such, things like that in your head that are beneficial, so that when you do nut anyways, at least those benefits that came with whatever you did are there, and they're substantial, and they'll be able to last. Number 2, reduce your sugar intake, right? So you can reduce it drastically or whatever, but in my personal opinion, carbs make you horny, right? That's in my experience, right? By spiking your blood sugar, right? Your body is gonna need an outlet. Your body's gonna need an outlet for all that energy that you have before the insulin comes through, right? That energy, it's gonna need something to, like, you need to put it towards something. So honestly, it's kind of like goes hand in hand, right? So when I was doing I did a keto diet. I was on a ketogenic diet for 3 to 4 months, right? During that time, right, I had no desire whatsoever to just let it burst. I didn't really care about nutting. Before that, I was eating a super unhealthy. I was like pretty much nutting every day or whatever. But when I started keto, within like a day or two, like I just had no desire whatsoever to nut. Maybe it also has to do with my energy levels too. At the time, I was kind of going like on some extreme shit, right? But that time, like those 3, 4 months, it wasn't really through any like concentrated effort on my part. Like I wasn't trying to not nut. I just didn't want to. That's probably the most easiest thing I could probably say that can help you, right? Number 3, that energy, right, needs to go somewhere. So honestly, you gotta start working out. I know I mentioned this before, but if you work out, right, you're gonna be able to give that energy, that sexual energy, another field to transmute itself. Another way to transmute itself. Physical exertion might be the best answer, right, for you, because it's something that we can all do. We can all go to the gym. We can all go on a little run. We can go on a walk, right? Exerting your energy in the gym releases dopamine, right? And this is going to reinforce the neural pathways in your brain, right, for fitness. Not the ones for fucking like vapping and shit. It's going to reinforce the neural pathways for fitness, and that's going to become something where your brain's going to go, oh, I can get dopamine from this too, right? So those are a couple of my tips, right? You can do 1, 2, or 3, or all of, whatever you want. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do, right? It's all a personal journey at the end of the day, right? It's for your own benefit, right? It's for your own benefit, right? If you need a little motivation, here's a little fact for you, okay? Females have a stronger sense of smell, okay? You know what that means? That means she can smell all your sailors, buddy. You know? All your little apprentices on your ship, just rolling down there. She can smell them. Till then, bro. I'll catch you guys later, eh? Later, baiters.